Welcome, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly meditation together using one of our tracks uh, at WeAwake. And just to be completely open and honest, I've been going through some really hard times. And um, I guess that the best way I can describe it, and I know language fails and it may bother some people, but anyway, it's just a deep hunger for God. And what does that mean? Well, maybe you go, oh, of course, you get it. You've been there. But as I've said before, I had my first big spiritual opening when I was 11 or 12. I haven't figured it out, but I think it was 67. And that was a long time ago. And I was reading the New Testament, Sermon on the Mount. So, you know, I got this transmission through the Christian tradition, and I was raised Catholic. And when I had this revelation, I didn't think it had anything to do with Catholicism. I don't know it had anything to do with anything, but this was basic, my little 11-year-old brain. And it was uh, that God is love, you know, and and God is everything. And it was so powerful. And I was like, this is the most important thing anybody's ever learned. Like this is more important than going to the moon. And it probably was in 68 because I remember being around that period out on the back porch of our house and looking up at the moon, and there were men on it at that time, which was like, so it was probably around 68 when this happened. And I tried to explain it to my parents, and they just didn't know what to do with it. And just kind of, okay, we've always known he's a little weird. And yeah, so that started me consciously on the path of and it never entered my mind to talk to a Catholic priest, because whatever the Jesus that I saw nailed on the wall or saw in the paintings, in the glass things on the windows, the stages of the cross and all that stuff, didn't seem to me to have anything that approached what I was experiencing. And so this lasted for uh, several weeks, just this open, and I turned all my friends onto it, and they were, you know, and looking back at them, it deeply affected their lives, and I think all of them are at this point are devout Christians. And uh, I anyway, maybe I should have talked to a priest because I didn't know then, but there are deep mystical spiritual roots in the Catholic tradition and in all the spiritual traditions. And one of the Protestant ones that's really great are the Quakers, who I have a great deal of respect, and others, but those are just things that pop to mind. So over the years, I have had other experiences. So um, by some people's definition, that makes me a mystic. Okay, that I've had experiences of this uh, deep light, deep love, deep revelation, God, the presence of God in everything, the fact that the obvious truth, I mean, the states that the universe is conscious and alive and a presence always, and it's all connected, and we are part of that. And in that deep place, there's a deep okayness with everything, which is obviously, maybe not obviously, but seems to really be beyond words. And well, we try anyway. We try to write songs and write poetry. I mean, I think Rumi did a great job, as good as anybody has, and describing this. And so yeah, so this has been something that's been with me since I was a child, and often said I'm haunted by God. But lately, I have felt very separated from that, and very connected to the pain and the darkness and the suffering in our world. Whether it's through my friends who live in Kyiv, they keep getting rockets fired at them every week, or young men that are dying on the battlefield in this insane war on both sides. You know, um, or the horrors that happened in Israel and then ongoing, and the fact that we have neighborhoods and areas of poverty in my country that where crime and drugs have taken over, and violence and gangs and guns. It's not just black people; it's white people do the same thing. Poor, and we don't seem to know what to do. How to stop that. Uh, and it hurts. And so in my, and I meditate every day. It's just what I do, right? It's a practice. And after a while, you wouldn't think of not meditating. Well, I would, just because it's what I do. And for me, meditation and prayer are, in my body and my sense, are the same thing. I mean, they just, that that meditation prepares one for prayer. And in that stillness, we can hear uh, the voice of the deeper, wiser self. But it seems I've been cut off from that for a while, and it hurts so bad. You know, when and I had a few, few, the curtains gone back. I'm seeing that one, and I thank God that I have friends that I can talk to about this. Uh, but it feels, when I sit, it's just this huge aching void. And in my mind, I said, yeah, it's hunger for God. That's really, really, really what I want not just knowing it or based on memories or past experience. That's super good. It's great. But conscious contact with God, as it says in 12 steps, I think it's step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to increase our conscious contact with God, seeking only his or her will and the power to carry it out. So it's not enough just to know in your head, which is okay. It's good that your head knows that. And, you can study philosophy and theology and, you know, psychology and know that, which I do. But the conscious presence. So when I begin my meditations, my prayetation, maybe. Anyway, I just feel it in my body. Uh, And I don't try to fix it. I just try to be present with it, saying, thank you, teacher. here we are. So, yeah. So for those of you who understand what I'm talking about, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. And I think there is a deep hunger in all of us for our true nature, okay, our deepest self, uh, Brahman, Wakantanka, Tankashila, Lakota pray, whatever you want to call it. I just use a shorthand for God because I do. Um, and we'll try to use all kinds of things to feel that, and it's okay, because I recognize that God is everything, 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 you know. So we can find him or her, it sounds, does it sound like? Because it is alive, it is consciousness. And, uh, and I approach that in the first person, second, and third person. Uh, the third person is like we're talking about God. This is what I pray for. This has been my experience as a third person. Talking about is other. And second person is when we talk to God. Hey, help. Here I am. Show me, heal me. I love there's a Native American prayer that it keeps coming back to me, and it starts as a great spirit, have pity on me that my people may live. Okay. So, Creator, help me so that I can be of service, so that I can help my people. And as we grow, the, the definition of who our people are grows and grows. And it to all human beings, past, present, future, and all beings, and everything. The rocks, the wind, the water, the oceans, clouds, the sun, the stars, everything. That's our people. Wakantanka, all our relations. So I think when I include that in my prayer, it helps to ground it in ultimately why I'm doing this. So I've been blessed with great experience and great insights into the mystery of the great mystery. And, when Rumi talks and stuff, I understand that. I've been there. But it seems like Rumi was there most of the time after Sham died, his spiritual other. And but I'm not there yet. I'm not at this constant thing like this. I know, but I don't experience it. I don't feel it, and I feel the pain of the world. It's hard. It's hard to hold, and it makes everything more difficult. And it could be psychologically, it could be talked about it just being depression, just being depression. I mean, God, how many of us have suffered from depression? It's a huge uh, health crisis in our world and spiritual crises in our world. But it's also can be thought of as a dark night of the soul. And all kinds of mystics talk about that. But I think it was Juan de la Cruz, St. John of the Cross, who first talked about it, uh, who coined the term dark night of the soul. And the way he describes it and everything is cool. It's great. But we've all developed it and worked on that core idea into it is what it is today. And sometimes having so much, if we live in the first world and, we have food and a house, we're connected in all the comforts that the modern world has produced, yet we feel we have nothing because we're missing that spiritual part, that spiritual deep connection. So anyway, that's where I'm at. And I was a bit terrified to come on here today. And, who wants to hear this kind of stuff? So, but I can't fake it very well. I can't fake it at all. So I just had to let you know that where I'm at. And we're going to listen to a track from it's Deep Recovery. It's a 30-minute track, I believe, and it was created by Leigh Spusta, friend and colleague. And this was from before WeAwake started. I found this online and I used it, and then I use it for a guided meditation, which is really cool. People say it really works. So working with people who are addicts or, you know, those who have a soul and no suffering, which includes all of us, at least at some point. So yeah, I would yeah, just pray that we and ask that we put our hearts and minds together and that we center down and if we're experiencing the presence of God, be grateful for that. And if we're not, be grateful for that and uh, say thank you, teacher. And I'll say the my version of the Lakota prayers is then we can start meditating is Great Spirit, have pity on us that our people may live. Uh-huh. Well, thank you everyone for being here again and being with us. And uh, hopefully the meditation uh, was a blessing, was a help. And what helps me when I'm going through these things is I realize that I'm not alone. And sometimes in our in the grief and the suffering and the despair and the feelings of hopelessness that come up, we feel isolated and disconnected from everything but our suffering. And we are not. And first noble truth, life is suffering. And that's a nice intellectual idea to really get it in your body, right, in your spirit. So so we're not alone. And what arises is compassion. And, and the Buddhists say the emptiness, which may not be the best translation of what they're talking about, but from that, no being arises everything, but arises compassion too. So yeah, let's be open uh, to our own pain and our own suffering and the suffering of others, and use uh, every moment that we can as an act of kindness and an act of prayer and a yoga way to join with which we all are and which is at the same time greater than we all are. And I know before I've learned that the greatness of spirit, the greatness of the ground of being is can hold all our suffering and all suffering that ever was. And by comparison, it's a small thing. It's a small thing. But the greatness of the great mystery that we find and that we keep searching for. We keep looking for teachers to enlighten us. And there are teachers that can teach us, and sacred scriptures and the sacred poetry and sacred writings. They're all there for us. So uh, all I can say is thank you. If you pray, you might include me in your prayers to help me get through this uh, time. And if you're with me, I'm praying for you and for all our brothers and sisters and human and non-human all over the world. I extend my love and gratitude and thank you for being here. And aho.